Welcome to Boss Beginnings with BI, a space about real careers, real journeys, and honest conversations about success. Basically, the conversations that build the boss in you. Exeda, and I'm here to share my lived experience about career development, upskilling, and basically just to give my 2 cents worth about the world of work. In South Africa, we are faced with so many issues about youth unemployment. We have our ministers who talk about our kids being lazy. And with the upcoming matric results, I know that there's a lot of matrics that are stressed right now. I have an 18-year-old who's also waiting for her matric results and waiting anticipatedly. In the meantime, I'm here to have real conversations about where we are going as a country in terms of skills and scarce skills that are needed. But let me start with who I am and maybe give you a brief background about my career journey. I was born and bred in Pretoria, Tshwane, and I went to Maramato Primary School. Subsequent to that, my parents took me to Andrew Anthony Primary School in Lodium. And then I went to Lodium High for only 1 year though, because my parents had then moved to Denver, which is where I grew up. I went to Hoërskool Elaspoort. And yeah, I think that's where my life lessons started, right? So the grade 10 subject choices had to be the most important ones. I chose maths, science, biology, and business economics. I was not really good at math, but I just did my best just to pass. Thereafter, I wanted to do drama at TUT or the then Pretoria Tech, because I think I was quite good at it. I mean, I used to act quite a lot at church. I grew up in church. I'm a church girl. And that's where I found passion for drama and maybe communicating in different ways. And unfortunately, because the auditions happen at the same time, which I hoped really has changed. What happens is that when you apply for drama at the then Pretoria Tech, they would send you a script which you have to act out to audition so that they can take you. But what happened is that during that time, I was also writing prelims. So obviously I had to focus on my prelims, and therefore I forgot the script, and therefore I failed. So I did not do drama. I had to look at other career options, and I then decided to look into business communications. Why business communications, you say? It's because I, at the time, with the little research that I did, realized that every company needs a communicator or needs to communicate what their business does. And that's what led me to doing that. But because it was not my first choice, I decided to do a 1-year course on that. So short courses are also a pathway into what you want to do with your career. So please keep that in mind. Subsequent to that, I'm a soccer lover. I'm a Sundowns fan. One day I was just watching soccer, and there was a guy who was very, very, I would like to think at the time, Patko Mafani. And he was the PRO for Kaizer Chiefs at the time. And then the late Alex Chagwani was the PRO, Goldfinger was the PRO for Sundowns. I'm a Sundowns fan. Obviously, I'm from Pretoria. So looking at these two guys, I always wondered, what do they do? When I asked my mom, and she told me that they're PROs. I then did my research with what PR is, and to cut the long story short, I ended up studying PR. This was at Tshwane University of Technology. I did PR undergrad, and then I did my postgrad in public relations. I'd like to also mention that people always think that it's easy. It's just a one-way road into, you go to school, you study, and no, it's not. Even with the qualification that I had, I still had to move around and see where I best fitted, right? In this podcast, we will be bringing more people who have also studied PR like I did, but we do completely different PR. So that's basically the essence of what Boss Beginnings with BI is going to be about, giving you the different career journeys in different fields and how you can best leverage your talent and passion to maybe make the best of what you have, right? I also want to be very honest. It was not an easy It was not an easy journey for me. I did not really just start out and became a PR person. No. At some point, I was an executive assistant. At some point, I was a branch secretary. At some point, I had to really look at what is it that I really like in this field, because it's not really something that is easy to crack in, especially if you don't have the experience. And with me, what helped is that when I really started wanting to get into the industry, social media was new then. So I looked into it and I started working in social media for the Competition Commission at the time, as in my capacity as an executive assistant. And then that's how I got into social media. And I was doing social media marketing, and online brand reputation. So those are different skill sets, right? But because of my experience in PR and my experience, I suppose, in media relations, it also came in handy. So in life, there's a quote that I like by Sheryl Sandberg. Sheryl Sandberg says that careers are not a jungle, are not a step ladder. They're jungle gyms. And that's exactly what it is. And as I suppose with this podcast, that's what we want to showcase. With the guests that I'm going to be bringing, we want to show that just because you started somewhere doesn't mean you will end up somewhere else, right? Or if you put your head and mind into something, you might even decide in future that this is the route that I want to take, or this is not the route that I want. I also want to mention that with a country like ours, following your passion might not necessarily be what you do first, but you need to look at what scarce skills are there, because you need to really get into career fields where you're going to put bread on the table. And sometimes passion does not pay the bills, like Oprah said. Eventually you would have to make choices that are not really what it's your first priority, but it's definitely something that honestly you need to have honest conversations about what the country needs, or what the continent needs, and what the world needs, and move on to do careers in that field. So with that being said, we now have matric results coming up. I'm going to bring in my daughter, who's also a matriculant and probably has has questions that most of her peers would have, right? We do know that there's a difference between professional qualifications and academic qualifications. What do you want to see? Is your career choice going to be driven by passion? Is your career choice going to be driven by a need for your service? I think what we also need to understand is that what questions are you answering, and what skill sets need to be answered by the career choice that you take. So with the matric results coming up, I saw it fit to call my daughter Bani to come and join us so that we can talk about some of the worries, some of the issues that perhaps you or your peers are facing. I mean, as I said before, choosing what to study after matric is one of the most important decisions you'll ever have to make in your life. Welcome.
Hello. Honestly, I feel like the pressure of getting into university is more than like us being anxious about results. Like, it's not even about the marks we get anymore. It's whether we will be able to get into university or not. It's the space. And if we don't, what then? Like, what's next?
That's a very important question that you're asking, right? Because I think if we look at it, the 2024 matriculants, we had about 900,000 matriculants who passed and had a bachelor entry, but only 200 spaces are available in the 26 universities that we have in South Africa. That on its own is a problem. However, there's TVET colleges, and for those that can afford, I suppose, they can go to private colleges. But that's a lot of South Africans that really can't afford those. So what is plan B? For me, as I said, some people take a gap year. We have a cousin of ours who took a gap year, and right now she's almost done, right? So that's something to consider as well. But I think also we need to look at what is available out there. Not everybody's going to be an influencer, so I'm not saying you must go out and be an influencer, but also look at the other career choices that you can do. I know there's a lot of certificates that you can do online for free, but there's also other avenues that you can perhaps look into, which will mean that you do take a year off school.
Yeah. It's actually really sad that like this decision we had to make it at such a ripe age without our brain being fully developed. Like it's heartbreaking, and some people make the wrong decisions and then end up regretting studying the course that they studied. So I think that's the fear a lot of us have, is that we'll end up just being in a place where we didn't want to be initially.
That's very sad, actually, come to think of it, because I know that at some point when we were in university, some people ended up having to take courses that really were not what they wanted to do, so they ended up dropping out. But what we also need to be mindful of is that you need to realize that you're answering the right questions, right? Going into fields where you know is not going to answer what the country needs right now.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to ask yourself, what is it that the country needs? What is it that the continent needs? What is it that globally is needed, right? You speak about there not being space in universities. However, there's people who have not gone to university but have answered the right questions and have upskilled themselves and have done what they had to do.
Yeah, that is true. So we'll see what happens. Okay, Mom, I hear you. So what skill sets do you think we need for like now, and what research should younger people do so that they know like they have a way forward and yeah, there's a clear path?
Okay, I think there's reports with which you can find out what the scarce skills are, but definitely you need to look at things like what problems will always exist. So, for instance, healthcare can never go wrong in the healthcare sector. What skills do employers struggle to find, right? So scarce skills. And also what can make me earn well locally and globally. Because remember, we live in a globalized world where you just not looking at a career in South Africa only, you're looking at a career also overseas, right? So those are the three questions that I myself would be asking myself. So basically, what problems will always exist, what skills are employers looking for, and what can make me earn good money.
Okay, to be more specific, Mom, like what jobs, what field do you think are hot right now are really like have potential?
Okay, in South Africa, definitely engineering, anything in engineering.
Apparently electrical is not that like, you can end up being an electrician.
And electricians earn money. Why do you think we have electricity? In fact, talking about electrical, I work for one of the biggest manufacturing companies in the world, and we are always looking for engineers who did electrical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, do you guys hire people that go to private institutions?
Yes, TVET colleges as well. So don't dismiss that option as well.
Okay.
Okay. And then second, I would say anything in IT and data skills. That's hot. That's hot topic. Cybersecurity, hot topic. Then, like I said, healthcare will always be a need. And I'd like to answer your questions about electricians. Actually, artisans and electrical traders are in need. Like, you go to any mining town, they will tell you that the artisans there, they earn well. And most artisans, from what I know, the little I know, is that they went to TVET colleges.
Wow.
Not necessarily.
That's impressive.
Very impressive.
But then TVET colleges is not always, I would think it's not always a guaranteed like success. Isn't it like one out of how many that actually make it with just a certificate?
No, to be honest with you, I don't think so. I think it can be a pathway into a university if you don't already get a job after getting a certificate there.
Well, obviously, yes, you can go to university after TVET, but it's just like, what if someone is really like, they don't want to spend a long time in school? they want to get straight into business.
I know of companies that do hire people that come straight from TVET colleges, like I made an example, companies like mine.
But then will they get far because they don't have a degree, they have a certificate?
I will tell you one thing, there is never going to be a time where you finish school. It's a lifelong thing. I mean, look at me, I'm this age and I'm still studying. So if you want to get far, it's about how far you're willing to push yourself. You have to upskill. Even with those degrees, you always have to upskill because the world is moving so fast that you don't want to find yourself dormant.
Okay, that's fair, I guess.
Yep, it is. So we're going back to the skills that we were talking about, actuaries and high demand. I know it's one of the most difficult degrees you can ever do, but I'm going to bring one actuary who actually is a prominent someone in South Africa. He has agreed. I'm daring you, and also business analysis. And what we also need to look into is energy and infrastructure skills. Africa is growing. Africa needs people who have the right and relevant skills. And therefore, when you look into energy, when you look into infrastructure, construction, and those kinds of skills for me are the most important right now. But as we said on Boss Beginnings, I'm going to be bringing a lot of people from different fields who will share their thoughts and journeys so that you can better understand that it's not a step ladder. It's a jungle gym.
Clock it, I guess.
Clock it. So thank you for coming and all the best with your results. The goal is to be intentional, practical, and strategic about your future. If you have any questions and would like further information, please leave a comment or DM us on our social media pages. Please subscribe to our channel, like and comment. This is Boss Beginnings, conversations that build the boss in you.